Michael.
Michael, how you doing? This is Ted Hicks from Late Night Parents.
Hey, Ted, how you doing? I'm doing well, man. Thank you for asking. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's Friday. I'm in downtown Manhattan, and getting ready to wrap up for the weekend. How about yourself?
Likewise. So I'm happy. So I'm actually working from home today out in Long Island today.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, so which is nice. The kids had a play date. My wife's out with our daughter, so it's actually a nice quiet day of work, and so I can get a lot of stuff done,
my goodness.
Which is always a good thing.
Yes, I got to tell you, my son and my wife are in South Carolina right now. She's visiting. My wife is visiting her mom. So she's been down there this week because school was out this week.
Yep.
So I don't want to get myself in trouble, but it was a nice, quiet week.
Oh, it's phenomenal, right? I mean, it really is.
You know, I had a bunch of things to do at work, and I was kind of like, okay, so I got to come in early on a few days and stay a little late, but I was able to do that, and while they were down in South Carolina, so it all worked out, but I wanted to thank you for taking a few minutes out.
Of course, likewise.
Yeah, so we're talking to CEO Michael Demetriou.
That's perfect, Demetriou. That's perfect, yeah.
Okay, and from OPEAR, and it's all about a new model and why we'll save New York families. This summer, we put up a blog post on latenightparents.com. I want to tell you, working with Elise and working with your team, you got some great people on your back end of working with you. I just wanted to learn a little bit more about, I kind of had the gist of it, but I would love for our listeners to explain this product, this service, and how it will benefit families. And I'm guessing you're doing a phased rollout, so it's like Long Island, the 5 boroughs, and Westchester. So I'm going to decrease, Michael, and allow you to increase, and tell us about OPEAR MD.
I'd love to. Thank you very much. So OPEAR MD, you're right. We are phasing it into the New York market. That is our go-to-market strategy. One, for the density and the transient nature of the city itself. And, of course, it's our home. So it's where we live. It's where our roots are. So we wanted to launch within a market that we know very well. And plus for everything that I just mentioned in the former, of course. But we're looking to go statewide obviously to saturate the New York market completely, and then also grow and scale throughout the country into other major metro markets as a whole. So whether that's over a year's time or a couple of years' time will be defined by the quick adaptation of the service itself and the marketplace itself. But we do have the aspirations of growing on a national scale and a national level. But I do believe that this will be a tremendous savior for parents in general. The OPEAR idea was conceptualized just from a moment when we had our firstborn and my wife was suffering with postpartum. And unfortunately, 4 weeks after that, life happened again where my father-in-law had unexpectedly passed. So we started out as a care network company and exploring a lot of options, whether it be on-demand childcare, because there was never that fully vetted solution at the time. But as we learned from our clients and we learned from the voices that we were listening to, they really liked the feature that we had, which was delivering a nurse to your home. And when we explored that a little bit in more depth, what we realized is there's a significant value proposition to us as parents in many ways when it comes to bringing health care for that non-invasive care. You know, those urgent care needs that really plague us a lot with kids, whether it's an earache and you start running a temperature and you don't know if it is or is not an ear infection. Maybe they do or don't have the flu. Maybe they do or don't have strep throat. But the problem I've always found as a parent, which tortures me, is when I leave my home with my baby all cozied up and I take him or her out and I bring him to the doctor's office, I'm sitting there for an hour, hour and a half during sick season, just waiting and waiting and waiting to just get in there and see the doctor. You finally get into the office where they're going to proceed with the visit. You got another, let's say, 10 to 20-minute wait. And they do their check, which is great, in all of about seconds. You don't really get the quality time that you're looking for because of the way the insurance companies run. They kind of just make you see a certain amount of patients over the course of the hour. But even that being said, the problem for me was walking in with what ends up being an ear infection and then walking out with an ear infection and whatever is biting us that for the commonality at that point, which is maybe flu season, strep throat season, Coxsackie season, or all these other viral contagious infections and these communicable contagious diseases and viruses that come out. That was a significant issue. And that's the value of OPEAR to parents, where you can have your son or your daughter cozy at home in their place of comfort, have a licensed medical provider from your neighborhood who works at one of the pediatric offices or one of the local pediatric or urgent care facilities within your neighborhood now come to your home on your time and on their time and really give you a little bit more quality care, right? Spend a little bit more time with you and really diagnose it properly and give you the comfort and your baby the comfort that they really need. So that's why OPEAR was born, and that's why we're excited to bring that to the New York market. And from a more altruistic thought and a higher pie-in-the-sky thought, you can really stop the spread of a lot of these viruses, like the flu virus, by containing them and quarantining them into the home now, instead of bringing them out to the doctor's offices and bringing them out into the community. You can serve a bigger purpose to our quality of life and our quality of health, which I think is very, very important also, that OPEAR can deliver to the community, to parents as a whole, and to children as a whole as well. And from a doctor standpoint, I think they got into this to provide that quality care, especially to children. So being able to spend 20 minutes with them instead of 5 minutes because they got to rush through to the next patient is super important for the medical providers and as well as the parents themselves.
Michael, that's a lot to unpack, but I will tell you this much. I'm going to give you a thumbs up because there have been so many times, I'm speaking for myself, when my kids were much younger. My kids now are, son's soon to be 12, daughter is 17, but I remember sitting in urgent care, and I remember, if not urgent care, scheduling an appointment with the pediatrician, and you walk into the pediatrician, and there's like 10 other sick children in there, and I'm like, oh man, and they're like, oh, it's flu season. Yeah, there's a bad virus going around. The fact that your OPEAR is offering in-home service is something great. It's really something great.
And I appreciate you saying that, and I really do believe that, because that's the thing, right? I mean, everybody's kid gets sick. You're going to school, kids get sick, and that's just the nature of the beast that we live in. But if we can keep them more comfortable, and if we can actually just diagnose the ear infection at home and not have them leave the doctor's office with the flu, at that point is tremendous. I mean, I can tell you a story that just happened to us the other day where I laughed with my wife when we were first thinking about this and conceptualizing this. I would actually go through with her and be like, well, now what would you do if OPEAR was ready? She's like, oh my God, I would pay $1,000 for this right now to not have to leave the house because it's snowing out or whatever's going on, and it's a major pain point because you got to go to the doctor's office. But just the other, about 3 weeks back, we had our son, and he was perfectly fine on Saturday. We brought him to his little football game, his little flag football game. He had a great time. He played well. It showed no signs of sickness. He had his opening day for Little League that Sunday, and he woke up, he had 101 fever, and he was complaining all of a sudden that his ears hurt. So my wife packs him up and our daughter up as well because she started saying that her ear hurt, so we didn't know if she was just copycatting or if it was real. So now she's got both kids in the truck, and she's on her way to PM Pediatrics. And I get a phone call, and not 5 seconds later, it seemed like, where she's like, I need you to come here, please. I'm on this street, on this corner. I had to pull over. Michael just got sick and vomited all over the car twice. So now here I am running right from our house with a towel, change of clothes, all these things that I'm bringing in like a medical tool bag going on demand there, running to the car, cleaning up the car, cleaning him up, changing him out of his clothes, all on the side of the road, sanitizing as much as we could sanitize. And, we ended up going to the urgent care site, and it turned out that he did have a double ear infection, and he did have strep throat. That moment, we looked at each other and said, this is where au pair is so incredible for parents, because I could have did this at home, right? I could have did this from home. I could have had a licensed medical provider, which I'm seeing at that urgent care facility anyway. That same person can come to my house now. And now, instead of my child being completely uncomfortable, completely just sad, crying, and a little bit like embarrassed and feeling awkward that he just vomited all over the car, he could have been just comfortable on his couch, watching his little TV shows, cozy with his blanket. And if he got sick at home. At least he's in the comfort of his own home, and you have everything else you need there with you as a parent. So just from a parent perspective, that's what I want to bring to my children. So I'm excited to bring that to everybody's children, to stay within the comfort of your home. And just from a parent perspective, I mean, just living in that nightmare at times where you're on the side of the road, just eliminating that completely in that moment was a tremendous thing to me. So it's not only just something that's conceptualized, it's literally something that I live with every day, and I'm excited to be solving for everyone as a parent because we all live with the same trials, tribulations that come with being parents, and we're all learning on the go.
So tell me this much, Michael. How would I sign up? How would I use this service? So let's say within the parameters right now, the rollout, I'm in Long Island like you. If my son became sick because he's under, if it's a pediatrician, so I'm thinking it's going to be under the age of 16. If he's ill and I wanted to sign up for this and I wanted to be able to browse and see what, primary care physicians are available in this specific network, like walk me through that. What do I do? How easy it is for a parent that's, let's say, non-technical, who's, not too computer savvy?
Oh, it's super easy. And that's the major thought process between our development and in general our operational and go-to-market strategy is obviously we want everything to be super convenient because that's part of our value proposition, but everything we take into account is always safety, right? So we never sacrifice safety or anything that can be harmful to a family at the sake of convenience. So we always take that fundamental precept and say safety is everything. So we must build around safety without sacrificing convenience as well. So we've accomplished that by having a secure type of vetting process with the criminal background checks already done. They have to perform skill surveys that their colleagues and their managing physicians would have to fill out for them and rate their skills, and we would get those returned. Licensing credentials will be checked monthly and daily to make sure there's no blips on the radar, there's no red flags, there's nothing sanctioning them from performing their service and being a medical provider at that point. So that's keeping it very convenient for parents by saying we're doing all that legwork up front for you. But from the technical side of it, they would fill out a profile.
Okay.
They would go through a couple of steps of filling in the necessary key points of information, children's ages, allergies, their home address. And before they book, we're going to ask them for a credit card where they could actually just take a picture of their credit card and all the information will be uploaded.
Okay.
So they never have to come out of pocket and pay for anything as far as cash. It'll always be done within the app as far as the credit card itself. But before they book, they could perform a search and see who would be available as far as the ratings of the physicians, the providers, their skill sets, what other people are saying about them who have worked with them in the past. And then when they're ready to book, they can book somebody that they choose, that they feel comfortable with, that they like to come to their home. And they can speak to that person through the app as well, so it stays confidential as far as the numbers exchanged. So they'll be able to have a conversation with that provider before they even come to their home if they'd like as well.
Wow, that's awesome. Hey, I do want to ask you one other question in regards to, let's say I'm a caregiver. Can you go at it from that standpoint?
What do you mean by that?
if I'm let's just say I'm a doctor and I want to be a part of the OPEAR network.
Okay.
To provide service. So I'm guessing like after you do security checks and verifications, how are you kind of like accepting physicians in the local neighborhood?
As far as au pair, how do we accept them, or how would a parent accept them?
Well, how would you accept them?
So au pair will accept them from one, they have to work within their neighborhood itself, right?
Okay.
So it can't just be somebody that is flying out of nowhere. I've just decided to come in from California and I feel like working for the next 2 days. That's not going to fly with us. This doesn't give me the warm and fuzzy feeling as a parent, so I would never pass that along to anybody else. So from my perspective, it's always fallen, if I'm not a client of my own service and I'm not comfortable within my own service, I will never sell it or allow it to be sold to anybody else.
Gotcha.
So they have to be a provider within striking distance of your neighborhood. Let's call it a 10-mile or a 5-mile radius from your home. So they'll always be grounded somewhere, right? So we need that first. Then we need to see that your 3 reference checks pan out. And it's not so much to say, yep, this person works here, because we're going to have that done as well. We want more than that. We want to know, how do they deal with patients? What's their bedside manner? What's their temperament? What's their personality? Where do they excel? Do they excel on, blood work? Do they excel in areas of ears? Do they excel? What is their specialty, or where do they excel within the scope of work that they perform? So we're taking it down to a very granular level and asking their peers, the people that they work with within that facility, and the managing doctor, assuming that this person is not the doctor on site and the physician assistant or the advanced RN, asking that managing doctor to rate them as well and say, okay, well, you hired this person. Would you hire them again?
Right.
And what do you think about their skills? And getting all those results back, getting those ratings back, digesting that on our side, making sure that there's nothing we need to be cautious about whatsoever, confirming that these IP addresses where these surveys were performed are valid. They weren't duplicate in any way where somebody was trying to defraud us with dummy emails or dummy IP addresses. Confirming that validity of those will also populate through to make sure that it's for real and it's not something that's just being bamboozled or the wool being pulled over our eyes in some way. Once they meet those checkpoints and they pass a full scope criminal background check, which also checks health sanctions from across the country, criminal records at the state and federal level, sex offender registries, and really coming back squeaky clean on all those records, then we can allow them to be within the marketplace. Once they're in the marketplace, then the parent themselves, who's also part of, can view and then book from there who they like. And they'll know what their peers said about them. Because even though they may not see that Joe said X about Jane, what they will know is that from their peers, they received a 6 out of a 7 score, right? So they'll know exactly what their peers think of them. So a parent will know exactly what they're dealing with. They'll actually know more about these providers going through au pair than they would going directly to the pediatric office. Because we don't even go through those steps as parents when we're going through the pediatric office, right? We say, well, who do you like? We ask a friend or we ask a family member, and then we go. And then we test it out and we see how it's going. In this case, we're going to have even more granular understanding of our providers by just going through au pair. What I think this does from a provider standpoint in a significant way is also allows for the doctor's offices and the emergency rooms to become less cluttered. It allows for them to really focus their attention on the serious illnesses, the serious ailments, the broken bones, something more serious that none of us want to wish on to anybody. Really focus your attention on that and take the non-invasive stuff. Take those quick checks, the strep test, the ear check, the flu test, those quick 15-minute checks that plague us all more often than anything else and drive us into those waiting rooms.
You're speaking
by bringing them to the house, bringing them home, and it really allows for the medical community now to really focus what they need to focus on in the office, which is the major stuff, right? And that's what I think another great value proposition for au pair is to the medical community and the providers themselves. The reason why we're so unique outside of other competitors is because we are so niche focused that we're not looking to eliminate the medical office. We're not looking to replace your pediatric office. We just want to be an extension of them. And that's where the significant value is. We want to be an extension of every pediatric office in the local community for parents to be able to get exactly what they need for their children.
We're speaking with Michael Demetriou, CEO and founder of OPEAR MD. You're making pediatric care easier because you're supplementing it with this specific service. OPEAR MD is the first on-demand app-based provider of in-home pediatric care. Michael, as we get ready to close this out, for our listeners, if they want to do a follow-up with you or with au pair, now's your time to promote the website, and if you have any phone numbers or Facebook pages, your social media presence, so that is going to allow our listeners to find more about this great service.
I appreciate that. Yeah, for our social media, it's at OPEAR, OPEAR, care. So it's at OPEAR Care for our Facebook page, as well as our Instagram accounts and our social media handles. So that'd be great if they want more information, they want useful blogs and useful information that we post about the service, they could always find them there. And as far as our website, it's OPEAR, OPEAR.com, where you can find a ton of useful information there as well. We have the frequently asked questions as we develop and build them there. And we also have our email addresses right on the site, and we're looking forward to questions from the community and from people we would love to use our service. And we're also looking to learn what they need, what they want, what they would look for in addition to what we have. So we are offering free subscription to the app through the summer. So parents get in, set up their profiles, and they'll get a free subscription for the year if they sign up before the end of August. We're looking to get as many parents in there as possible, and then also to learn from those parents when they download the app and learn about the features and learn what's there. I mean, we have 1,000 things on our mind that we already want to push into V2, V3, and V4 as we continue to develop the app and make it more robust. But more than just putting our thoughts out there in a biased way, we really want to know what parents want, because that's what's important. This service is for them. So while we're building it and we're putting it out into the community, this is their service. This is what's there for them. So we'd love to hear ideas from them as often as possible, and they could find those email addresses on our website as well. And we also have a page set up in our Facebook where they can answer certain questions for us that we can learn from them as well, which we think is tremendous for us, because we always want to deliver in the best interest of what the parents want.
Michael, I want to thank you again. We're definitely going to stay close with you, but a personal thank you for bringing this service out to NYC, Westchester, and Long Island.
It's our pleasure, man, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. I really do appreciate it.
All right. Have a great day.
You as well. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.